know if it had something to do with those specifically, or what had changed. I don't know. I mean, So I'm with Ashley Wagner. We've just been having a great time just chatting, and it's so easy to forget about the interview, isn't it? We could have sat here all day. But Ashley Wagner has her business, and it is called Heartfelt Harmonies.
Yep.
Got that right?
Yeah.
And what I think is interesting, I have to tell everybody how we actually met.
Oh, yes, please do.
Because this is interesting. Most of you don't know that I play auto harp, and hadn't really been called upon to do so in over a decade. And so the auto harp's sitting there, it's collecting dust, and I wanted somebody to actually have use out of it, and I did what most people do. I put it on Marketplace and got a response, and it was Ashley, and I was just like so happy to get a response. And you are actually proof too. You can attest to this. I'm actually one of these people where I say no reasonable offer refused.
Yeah.
If you show up and pick it up, don't, somebody wants a reasonable offer, agree to it. No, I can't come. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
Okay. So you came to pick it up, and you were really open about wanting to tell me what you were going to use it for. So that I'll let you just jump in with that.
Sure. Yeah, well, I was so excited to see an auto harp on Marketplace because I've been wanting one, but a lot of these instruments are like pricier to buy them new. And so I also think it's really special to get to play instruments that like other people have already played, and already had these experiences with, and just continuing that. But yeah, so the auto harp, and then I came to pick it up, and I was just so curious as to what you had done with it.
Right,
and then talked about how I was planning to use it in music therapy.
And I, like most people, what's music therapy?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the typical response.
And so you were just so glowing and excited about it, and telling me what it was, and you're going to tell them in a second. But I literally was like, would you mind doing that on camera? Because some people who would like to talk don't want to be on camera.
Yeah.
But you were like, sure, I'd love it. And
and I had no idea what you were talking about even at the time, but I was like, I don't know, but this seems fun. She seems neat, and let's do it. I was really excited about that, so thank you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad to be doing this.
Yeah, too. It was exciting for me because I like to have different topics. I enjoy it very much, having authors and whoever, but if I can find somebody who does something that maybe people haven't heard of. And so like you told me, and for everybody watching, what's music therapy?
Good question. So music therapy, it can be a lot of different things, and it depends on the population that you're working with and what the specific goals are. So I work with a bunch of different people, but today, for example, I was working with people who are in a recovery program for addiction recovery. And so we got together, and it's a large group, and we sang familiar songs, and we worked on things like just decreasing feelings of isolation and increasing opportunities for emotional expression, because we all like to just, be listening to that music, and then just increasing group cohesion, just making everybody feel like together. But it's always really neat how we can take these songs that we might have heard like a bunch of times before, but then we can sit down and really like look at the lyrics, or really listen and really think about it, and suddenly just get so much more from it. So today in a group that I did, we looked at lyrics from Nikki Sixx and Maybe It's Time. And so one of the people in Motley Crue. Okay. And also
my age is showing.
There were also artists from like Slipknot and Guns N' Roses and Five Finger Death Punch, just like a bunch of these very different groups, and they all did the song together. And it talks all about, maybe it's time to finally be taking these steps toward recovery. And that was one of the topics that we talked about as a group. And it's really neat to get to see everyone just start talking about these things more openly once they have the lyrics to look at. and be able to talk about those instead of maybe doing something uncomfortable, like just talking out of nowhere about their own experiences. So.
Okay, yeah. So I think you were telling me too that you get people to actually, you know, like strum on the instruments.
Yeah.
And that has an effect too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so also I think what I was telling you about when we met was working in a nursing home or working with older adults. Right. And so that's a time when I really like to use the auto harp because I can hand it over and maybe press one of the buttons and have an individual just like strum on the strings. And the auto harp is wonderful because it's a string instrument and there are no wrong notes. So,
right.
Well, as long as you know you have somebody
pushing
playing
the button for the chord. Yeah, did you manage to get that tuned okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, tuning an auto harp is a project.
Yes, it is.
But yeah, tuned, and it's really wonderful, and people like to be able to play that and feel successful with it, and I think it really helps with like self-esteem and just doing meaningful things.
Yeah, I think I was happy though too, learning where it was going and that it was actually going to be used in that way. It made it easier to hand over an instrument that I played as well as, because that's hard. I mean, I understand, you know, with a musician, some people would be like, how can you sell it? And it's like, I got to that point where it was like, I'd rather see it get use. And so that meant a lot to me that it was actually, going to be used, that it wasn't, obviously, I mean, if somebody had bought it and said they were interested in learning to play or whatever, you know, there's that possibility it would end up on the shelf again.
Yeah.
And just like I said, so it meant a lot that it was going to be used.
Yeah.
And what other instruments have you used then?
All sorts. So usually I have a guitar with me and ukulele. Sometimes I'll carry around a keyboard piano. The guitar is my go-to just because it's the easiest to put on my back and take places. But lots of percussion instruments. And I've learned lots of different instruments that you might see like in a high school band or orchestra, but I would not recommend listening to me play all of them. Some of them are not so great, but the guitar is the main one.
Get a sound to come out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because you said ukulele. Now my other instrument is the baritone ukulele.
Oh.
And still hanging on to that one. I still use that if I'm doing a song in a video or something like that. But
we should jam sometime.
There you go. I've never had that. That would be great. No, I was going to say too, but obviously now mentally, if I get to that point with the baritone, I know I would come to you immediately with that. So, you know, that's always the resource is great for that. So how common is music therapy?
Ooh, that's a difficult question. So I think that we see it a lot maybe in children's hospitals, or where I think it might be most common. But it kind of depends on the state. Like in some places it'll be more common than others. In Indiana, we happen to have a program that covers the costs of music therapy for certain individuals, especially if someone has developmental disabilities, then a lot of the time their services can be covered, including music therapy. So it's pretty popular with that, but other than that, it kind of depends on who knows about it and just what connections they might have to like know that it's available, because I think a lot of people don't know what it is.
I didn't. Yeah, I certainly didn't. And you know, my background, educational-wise, is psychology, so they didn't have any such thing, and if they did, at least not in my learning circle, so to speak.
Yeah, it's newer.
And so I could see where it was a thing, because literally how many people, you know, you're not like suffering from depression, but when you're having a bad day, when you put on your favorite song.
Yes, exactly.
Something like that. I mean, I've had days where the best thing I can do is go into my car if it's a nice day, roll the windows down and blast I Get Around by the Beach Boys, right?
Yeah.
You know, just something. So music does have that as an effect, even if you're not like in therapy per se.
Yeah.
Now, are there certain, with that, are there certain protocols? I mean, are there, when you have like a therapy situation, are there certain things you have to follow? You know what I'm saying with that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I know what you're saying, and yeah, I think it would be different depending on the population, and then on the individual and what goals you might be working on. But there are some set like techniques that we can use. There's always some creativity for it. Like there's lots of room for things to be adjusted by the music therapist to do what they think might fit. But
where did you learn about it?
I thought I invented it. I did not. But I knew I wanted to do therapy things, and I've known that music programs have just been so beneficial to me for self-esteem and social things and just all sorts of different areas. And so I thought that maybe I could be a therapist and use music. So I looked into that and realized, oh, this is already an established thing.
Already,
There's
nothing new under the sun, is there?
So that exists.
So where did you? Did you like study for it?
Oh, yes.
So
I went to school for music therapy.
Okay, so they actually have that.
Yeah, so I got a bachelor's in music education and music therapy from the College of Worcester, which is in Ohio. And there are only a couple schools in each state that offer music therapy.
Okay.
And then after that, there's an internship program, so you'll work with another music therapist for about 6 months at least, and then there's a board certification exam, and then just every few years you have to recertify by having a certain number of credits.
Okay, and do you have to put in like a certain number of hours like for that certification? Okay, so all right. And one thing, if somebody was interested in that, is there a program in Indiana?
Yeah, there are several schools in Indiana that have it. I'm not going to say which ones because I'm not totally sure, so I don't want to say anything.
But that's because a lot of times, because you're in Indiana, we're in Indiana, people know that. And I know this is going, hopefully, worldwide. That's what we want.
Yeah.
But
yeah, there are schools, I'm pretty sure, in Indianapolis.
Okay. So that's for, the local audience that we've gotten specifically, because I do promote in Indiana specific groups and things. So you've been doing this for how long then?
Almost 5 years. So a couple years, and then I just started doing it as myself, like with my own business, about a year ago.
Okay. And it's just you haven't taken on any assistants yet.
Right. Well, I do have one administrative assistant, and she helps me with just keeping on top of documentation and invoicing, and she catches all the things that I might sometimes have falling through the cracks. So it's really nice to have her.
Because you're the creative person, right?
Yeah, she makes sure that everything is like set. So it's really good and like essential to have her helping out. And then right now I'm hiring, so I'm looking for a second music therapist to start soon. And I have a few people who have reached out. So hopefully that'll happen soon, because right now the caseload is wide enough, and there are enough people who want music therapy. I mean, there are more people who want music therapy right now than music therapists.
I guess that's
available.
a good thing. That's certainly a good thing.
It's a good thing. It's a good problem, but yeah.
So, how long is a music therapy session?
So it depends. Usually about an hour is what I do. Sometimes with adults it may be longer, and sometimes if I'm working with children, which I do pretty often, then it might be shorter. So anywhere between 30 minutes and 90 minutes.
Okay. And I was going to say that you're talking about having a group, and you do individuals though as well. Okay. And every age range, it's for everybody.
Yeah, it really is for everybody. I think that all of us have goals that we can work on through therapy, and music therapy is a really good option for a lot of us.
Yeah. Actually, it was funny when you were talking about group sing along. My age shows, because the first thing that goes through my mind are like these songs we learned in day camp. And you're talking about Guns N' Roses, and I'm like, no.
Well, the songs you learned in day camp, those are also great.
Yeah.
I'll keep Guns N' Roses for the recovery groups, but day camp songs, those are super good. Keep Around's the good ones that you like.
Yeah, it's just I just remember those from sing-alongs. It's fun.
And
you
isn't
know?
it wild that you remember these things that might have been from like a while ago, but we
Right.
keep these lyrics in our head. It's
Yeah, that's a thing, because I actually will remember song lyrics over other things
Yeah.
that I've ever learned. And it's just amazing because, like, even like in school books I read or something, you know, the textbooks, and I don't remember any of that. But
Right.
the song lyrics always come back to you. There's something that triggers your brain, I think, with the music. I really
yeah,
do.
yeah, and the music is in parts just all over your brain, and so even if there are a few connections that might become weaker as
Mhm.
time goes on, you're still going to have different pathways available to
So
just
does that help with
recognize the music.
dementia then?
Yes, as you were talking about this, that's exactly what I was thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've worked a lot with people who have dementia, and sometimes, you know, they're having trouble figuring out where they are, who the people around them are, and it can be really like upsetting and cause a lot of anxiety for people who are experiencing that. I mean, not knowing where someone is. Or just not being super oriented, but then you can start singing a song with them, and these songs that you might have learned, you know, the day camp type songs, something like "You Are My Sunshine," I might start singing that, and someone who might not be able to say any other words that day can sing those lyrics to that song.
That's great.
Yeah, and it can kind of help center us, and just kind of bring people to the here and now, and also help them feel successful, because, you know, at least that's something that's making sense, even though nothing else seems to.
Yeah, and you just have those songs. I mean, I think everybody's attached to some songs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, you know, song-wise, I mean, I've got Amazon Prime. I've been watching old episodes of The Partridge Family.
Oh, okay.
Okay, music, right? And still, I react to what is my favorite Partridge Family song. I'm not gonna, but you know, I still have that same like reaction that I did then, and it's just interesting to kind of experience that. So, yeah, the connection to music just in general is so deep that, you know, it makes sense that you could use it to help people. And I'm glad they discovered they could do that, I guess.
Yeah.
It sort of beats staring at ink blots and trying to figure out if it looks like an elephant or a butterfly or,
Yeah, and even with things like after a traumatic brain injury or a stroke, there are a lot of times when we might not be able to say words or say exactly what we mean, but we'll still be able to sing our favorite songs. So.
Yeah, I just think I'm just fascinated by that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And like I said, just having the background in psychology too, and seeing the connection with that, and that's actually, as far as I'm concerned, something that's gotten better if they've gone to music therapy. I mean, there's other things that I'm not so crazy about. I'm not going to get into that here, but that's progress, I think. So, anything else that you think people should know?
Let's see. Well, I recommend music therapy if there are some goals that you'd want to work on. But no, that's about it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I've enjoyed that, and it's fun learning about it, and I will put your website in the description.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, heartfeltharmonies.org.
Oh, okay, that's easy enough. But you know, you'll say it, and nobody will remember it anyway.
Yeah, you gotta see it written out.
Got to see it written out. And thank you again for coming. It's been a lot of fun, and I'll see you next time wherever.